Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm FastWilly, and here you're going to find videos on fasting, nutrition, general health, and the foods that I eat when I'm not fasting. On today's video, you're going to hear about the foods that I will be eating over the next 30 days that have been recommended to me by Viome. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Viome, and then I'm going to show you their website and the foods that they recommended to me. I hope you enjoy the video. If you're new here, how about subscribing? It's very helpful for me, and I would very much appreciate it. Thank you. I'm starting a challenge where I'll be fasting for 2 days at a time and then eating foods recommended to me by my Viome results. So what is Viome? Viome is a service where they send you a kit. You sign up online, they send you a kit, and the kit looks like this. And inside of it are instructions for how you can send them a stool sample. So you collect your own sample and you mail it back to them, and they take your stool sample and put it through some lab testing. And what they're trying to find out is your gut health intelligence. And so what they tell you is what foods are good for you and what foods are bad for you based on your gut microbiome and your mitochondrial health. So I sent away earlier in the summer for my Viome results and got them back 3 or 4 weeks ago. But I was in the middle of my last challenge. If you haven't checked that out yet, go back and check that out. That was my first challenge where I was fasting for 81 hours at a time and then eating 10,000 calories in one day to see where my weight would go. Would I gain weight, lose weight? How would I feel generally? What about my body measurements? I measured my chest, my waist, my hips, and my thighs every single day. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. It's the 28-day challenge. This is going to be the 30-day Biome challenge. So I got those results back. I've been able to analyze them. And so now we're going to move into our next challenge. As soon as I was done with the previous one, I started on this particular fast. So I am 2 days in now. So tomorrow is going to be my first eating day of only eating foods that are recommended to me by Viome. I'm moving from a lot of processed foods. I was eating a lot of Pop-Tarts, ice cream, candy bars, pizza, all kind of foods. Now I'm going to a more natural whole foods type diet based just on the foods that they told me I should eat and should not eat, which is one of the things that is interesting about Viome. They give you a foods list, which I'm going to show you all of the foods on all of my lists, but it kind of assumes that if you're going to only eat the foods on the foods list, you're only eating whole foods, not a lot of processed foods. You can look at it multiple ways. You could choose to just incorporate some of these foods better into your diet. I know my brother-in-law also did this, and the results came back and said that sunflower seeds were a superfood for him. So instead of having peanut butter, he switched to sunflower seed butter. He just recently made that switch, so I'm very interested to ask him how that is working out for him. So I'll let you guys know when he tells me that, but he's not necessarily making a full drastic change like I'm going to do for the next 30 days. So I'm going to show you my foods. They are in 4 lists. They are superfoods, which are directly related to your body, not necessarily, we think of, they're like buzzwords, superfood, that they'll say like, oh, avocado is a superfood, goji berries are a superfood, acai is a superfood, turmeric is a superfood. You hear that all the time. What they do here is like really break it down specifically by your gut microbiome to tell you what your superfoods are. So superfoods is the number 1, and I am going to be eating every superfood that's on my list. I'm going to eat every superfood on my list over the next 30 days. There's a couple that I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to get my hands on, but other than that, I'm planning on having every superfood. Then there's an enjoy list, which is pretty much the bulk of the foods that I will be eating. There are only so many superfoods, but then the rest are go ahead and enjoy these foods. Then there is a minimize list, which is obviously try to minimize as much as possible. And there is an avoid list. So they also give you recommendations on supplements, and a lot of the foods, whether they're your superfoods, a lot of the superfoods, they give you recommendations on this is why this is a superfood for you. And a lot of the avoids, they'll give you this is why you should avoid this food. And I have an example for the avoids of why we need to avoid some foods. And I'll maybe click on some of the foods. I'm going to show you the Viome website that has the list of foods that I should enjoy. And we're going to go down through that. And if you follow along with this challenge over the next 30 days, I'm going to show you some grocery hauls. I'm going to show you some recipes that I'm cooking, and I'm going to show you days of eating only Viome foods. So let me get started with showing you what my foods are. It's very exciting. I was very excited to get this back. It probably took about 4 weeks in total to send out my my stool sample and then get my results back. And if you listen to the conversation that I had with John on the Fast Track 4, we kind of discuss why maybe some foods are superfoods and why some foods might not be superfoods. Maybe because some of these foods I like to eat a lot and I've eaten a lot of in my life, has my gut adjusted to eating these foods, and that's why my gut microbiome says I should be eating these? Or is it just by coincidence that I like these foods? Maybe they, subconsciously they make me feel better when I eat them. So I've always been drawn to these foods rather than some others. So I'm going to show you the superfoods first. Let me share my screen. All right. So we are on, this is the minimize list. Let me get to just superfoods. All right, so it breaks them down into different categories, but here they are just alphabetical, but they'll send you a list. It's like what vegetables you should eat, what proteins, what proteins and fats. So we're just gonna start here on my superfoods. So artichoke, asparagus, avocado, and banana, and black beans. Avocado, banana, black beans are all interesting for me because they're foods that I eat a lot of. Growing up, I ate a ton of bananas. Avocados I love. Just for some background, I ate keto for 2 years, so it's interesting to see avocados on this list. Bananas and black beans aren't something I ate a lot of on keto, but in my life I have eaten a lot of them. Bone broth, both mammal and poultry, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cherries, which I like. Dark meat chicken is very interesting. I love wings and I love thighs, and I ate a lot of thighs in the past few years. And so I'm very excited that thighs ended up being, or dark meat chicken ended up being on my list. I'll end up eating a lot of that over the next 30 days. Cranberry, chard, I'm gonna have to figure out how to eat that. Egg yolks is a big one for me. I love eggs. Endive, flax oil, garlic, ghee, which is a butter, I think it's clarified butter. I don't know much more about it than that. Jerusalem artichoke, kimchi, which is something I've never eaten a lot of. I don't know if I've ever had it, but I'm going to have it on my first eating day. I'm going to have kimchi fried quinoa with an egg on top. Leek, lentils, natto, which I have never had. Olive oil, olives, which olives are a food that I very much dislike. It's definitely not something that I've cultivated bug for in my stomach because I don't ever eat them. So if you are an olive fan and you have one that's like, hey, this one, you might enjoy it, let me know in the comments below because I'm not an olive guy. Pumpkin seeds, radicchio, raspberry, sage, wild-caught salmon, spirulina, sunflower seeds, tempeh, and white meat turkey. So let's go on. I'm going to not go as in-depth, but let's just pull up bananas here and see what it says. My body's response to bananas, the amino acids, it also talks about blood sugar response, and it says that my blood sugar response to bananas is likely to be low. Amino acids are protein building, so this is saying that the amino acids in the bananas are what's good for my body. Let's look at let's look at ghee and see what it says for me. Ghee may improve your butyrate production pathways and gut lining health scores. So I've seen this in my what am I trying to say? In my supplement recommendations from Viome, they want me to take a butyrate, which is good for your gut lining health, which I think is a super important thing that we're going to be learning more about over the next few years. It's kind of becoming a hot button topic in terms of digestion. So butyrate is something that they want me to get more of, and apparently ghee has it. So I'm really interested. I'm glad that they give that explanation. It doesn't give as much of an explanation on the foods that are on your enjoy or your minimize, but they give it for your superfoods and your avoids. So I'm just going to scroll through my enjoys, and I'm not going to make an effort to eat all of these foods. I'm just going to have these as a lot of things that I can eat. There's, you see the beef in here, both fatty and lean. A lot of berries, blueberry, blackberry. Butter is on here. So again, like a lot of foods I may have been eating when I was keto. Cashews is going to be something that I'll be snacking on instead of having chips or pretzels. I like cashews. Cayenne pepper. They have spices in here that may be good or bad. Cauliflower is an interesting one because I don't think that I feel great when I eat cauliflower. It's one thing that I have noticed I don't feel good when I eat. So I don't know how much I'll eat. Cheese, it's interesting that cheese is on here. I've seen a few different people's results, and some people say avoid cheese. A lot of people really believe that avoiding dairy is good for you, but Viome is telling me that cheese is something that I can enjoy. White meat chicken, chickpeas, chili powder, cilantro, cinnamon, all of these coconut products, although coconut water ends up being on my minimize list later on. Corn, which is something like I find that to be interesting. Egg whites, so I can go ahead and enjoy the whole egg. Just showing you the results here. There are a lot of things. Heavy cream. So again, herbal tea. You will find out later that other teas, white tea, black tea, and coffee are all things that I should either minimize or avoid. Kale, lamb, lime, lobster, MCT oil, macadamia nuts. I hope I'm not going too fast, and you can see these if you're interested. Pineapple. Sardines, scallops. There's a lot of seafoods on my enjoy list, which is good because I like to eat seafood. I don't know how much I'll cook seafood at home during this, but soy milk, soybeans. A lot of people say avoid soy, but I'm seeing here soy milk and soybeans are things that I can eat. So I'm going to go ahead and enjoy those during this. Sprouted rye bread and sprouted wheat bread. I believe that I will be having both of these during this challenge. I bought some Ezekiel sprouted bread. Sweet potatoes is something that I'm going to enjoy. Tomatoes. So it's very interesting. Whole milk is something that's interesting here. And I always have whole milk. I don't normally do what's the word for it? Skim milk. Wild rice is on here, but other rice is not. White rice is a minimize and brown rice is an avoid for me. Zucchini, yellow squash. So let's scroll all the way back up to the top here, and we're going to go check out my minimize foods. Minimize almonds is one of them, which is interesting to me because I like almonds. I like almond milk. I won't be having, I'm going to try to reduce all of these as much as possible. Also, one thing that we did not see on the enjoy list there that I didn't note was honey, and honey is the only sweetener that's on my list. We'll see a lot of, you see cane sugar here, minimize. Couscous is a carb source that I need to minimize. I won't be having that. Grapes, minimize. Kombucha, minimize, which is interesting because a lot of places will say like eat as many fermented foods as possible. I have kimchi on mine, and tempeh is on my superfoods list, but kombucha is not, and which is interesting. And so is sauerkraut is on my avoid list. So it's interesting. It's like, don't eat all fermented foods. Some of them are good for you and some of them aren't so good for you. Also, mango is on here. Mango is something that traditionally makes my mouth hurt. So I'm happy to see that it's on this list of, it wasn't like a superfood for me. So that makes sense to me. The results make sense to me. Maple syrup and molasses, 2 sweeteners, not on here. Pork is going to be something. I like pork. I like bacon. I like pork chops. I like sausage. I'm not going to eat it during this challenge, but interesting to see. And I'm not sure how many people pork is going to show up for on a good list. A lot of places will tell you don't eat pork. It's like, pigs don't necessarily eat the healthiest, so what they're eating ends up in your body. That's just interesting to me. Rice milk, rice noodles. All right, here's an interesting one, is salt, especially Himalayan salt. I put that into my snake juice when I'm fasting. And so I'm trying to reduce that as much as possible. I've been having for the last 2 days just potassium chloride and baking soda in my water, and I've been feeling okay so far. I was a little bit hungry this morning, so I'm gonna see if only fasting for 2 days, if I can have just those electrolytes, and then maybe I'll make up some of that sodium on my eating days. Spinach, stevia, white rice, and white tea. All right, let's go up to my avoids. Avoid, there are only 6 on my avoid list. Brown rice, chestnuts, coffee, which I have every day. I'm trying to reduce as much as possible. Right now I'm trying to do only 1 coffee a day, and hopefully by maybe halfway through this, I'll just avoid it completely. Kefir, sauerkraut, and yogurt. Let's see what the coffee on the avoid. Coffee contains caffeine, which is known to increase your stress hormones. The stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, have a negative impact on your microbiome by decreasing beneficial bacteria such as lactobacilli strains and promoting the growth of harmful microbes and increasing inflammation in the gut. An analysis of your data indicates that you would benefit from avoiding foods such as coffee that will increase your stress response. So very interesting. I'm going to try my best to avoid coffee. I'm going to reduce it first, and then I'll try to get rid of it. So very interesting. Those are my Viome results. So basically, I wanted to share with everybody, if you're interested in the foods that I'm going to be eating, you saw my superfoods. I'm going to try to eat everything that's on my superfood list at least once. I'm going to be fasting for 2 days at a time, and then eating only the foods that are on my list. I'm going to have no processed foods, no pop, soda, no beer. I'm just going to be having the foods that are on my list and trying to reduce things like sauces and other things that may be processed. So it's only 30 days. I'm going to be able to do it. I've done this in the past. And once you're able to eliminate all food for days at a time, eating natural whole foods is an easier thing than just saying like, oh, how are you going to reduce all of those foods? When the time comes to eat tomorrow, I'm going to be very interested in all whole foods. Whereas if you're going from like eating a lot of processed, highly palatable, sugary foods, it's harder to get excited about natural foods that maybe don't have as much sugar and aren't quite as like enjoyable under normal circumstances, because we're so used to having such like highly processed foods that taste so good. And so I think it's going to be pretty easy to only eat those foods on my eating days because of the work that I've put in on learning how to fast. But we'll see at the end. I'm also going to be tracking my weights and my measurements just the same as I was on my last challenge. So I'm going to make sure everybody knows halfway through how I'm doing, and then at the end how I did. So thank you everybody for watching this. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and please give me a like and a comment down below. What foods on this list would you be excited about to be on your superfoods list? And what foods would you be like, there's no way I would be able to give that up? Maybe for you, it's rice. I mean, I like white rice. I was hoping that would be on my carbs list that I could eat, but it's not. So I'm going to go with potatoes and sweet potatoes and quinoa. And those are all perfectly fine with me. I like those. So let me know below, what could you give up? What couldn't you give up? And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing my results with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video. All right, bye.